Yeah, my problem is it's certainly just logistics and bandwidth. I mean, I'll disappear for 2 3 weeks being busy, and then even Nicole can't get a hold of me. But right now, there's like four collabs in line waiting. But I will certainly, and it's been on my mind, and I certainly want to hook up with you.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely do that. And that way I can get, because I like to really have a bunch of pre planned questions, but right now we're just kind of hanging out. So while I have you on here, it sounds like you've probably got to go in a few minutes, but I was going to ask, like, what's your experience so far with Sublocade? Do you prescribe that much, or is that not really, are you doing that much these days, or how's that going?
I like Sublocade for many reasons. I'll give you some quick answers here. Uh, Number one, for people that it is problematic and they don't like the having to take medication once, twice, three times, four times a day, it facilitates that. Now, that could be because they just don't like taking medications or because of professional obligations, hiding stuff from family, and so forth. That's number one.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, on the other side of that fence, it's sort of a this is a very nuanced point, but taking the medication, any medication, is a ritual, no different than prepping your spoon and needle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And and I've seen in the most extreme case, I don't mind switching that ritual to Suboxone or whatever it is they're taking, right? Obviously, for all the benefits. That being said, when a patient's been on Suboxone long enough, I like them to move away from the ritualistic behavior of thinking you need me or drugs or anything to go about your life. And this facilitates that. Now, these are very nuanced concepts I'm giving, but I've dealt with thousands of people. Finally, I'll add one last thing, and it's this. Um, at first, I would hear reports about people having an easier time getting off of Sublocade versus Suboxone. I chalked it off as anecdotal and something that I could not take action on. But if enough reports came in and added up, where I'm like, okay. And then we had patients in our own practice having the same experience. And in that way, I'm starting to use it, even though it's not like the Sublocade company is going to do a big study on this because they're like, oh, crap. And we have some ideas about why this is happening. But we tell people that this is what we're seeing. And for those that it's kind of urgent to get off or the time comes to get off, we utilize Sublocade in that way. Finally, I want to add one last thing. Somebody was asking about the last few days being on Sublocade. They have withdrawals. That's the real answer to that. You don't want to go back from Sublocade to Suboxone. It's kind of a move backwards. And the
Mm-hmm.
solution to that is go in a few days earlier, potentially for Sublocade. There's some logistics. You got to look at the dates. The other option is if your doctor is wise enough, he'll give you 3 or 4 Suboxones for those last few days. And that's how we manage that.
Okay. Isn't that usually typically during like the first month or two that people usually hardly only ever run into that first like last few days or week? Because after you reach they call it steady state, you should be good to go usually, right?
No, it doesn't. So remember, these are all some of this data is theoretical, right? Because you can't go in there and put in the blood and measure. You'll
Mm-hmm.
see that with some people in the long run, and that happens all the time. And the other solution here, the other thing is, even though the dose jumps down to 100 milligrams after the first month, I started doing this immediately. But there's many other doctors that do the same thing, and it's this. I keep certain people that are very heavy users. I keep them on the 300 milligrams for as long as I need to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people do that as well. That's a really good idea too. It's like if especially if they're struggling a little bit and they're worried about jumping down to the 100 milligram dose, it might just be better. Some people just like to stay on the 300 milligram shot.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. So I do that as well.
okay. How long have you been doing Sublocade?
We've been doing it a lot more now. I don't have all my patients on it, but we got 30, 40, 50 patients on it because my practice is strictly substance abuse. but I've been doing it from the very beginning, and these 3 years.
Okay. What about have you heard about Brixadi yet? I know that's barely starting to come out to the U.S. market here soon. Have you heard anything about that on your end?
I have. I don't expect it to be a game changer. One simply has to look at, and I haven't. I got to look at the milligrams that is released. But I don't expect it to be a game changer. What I do expect is it increases my options. That for
Mm-hmm.
some reason or whatever reason, someone doesn't dig on Sublocade. That nuanced change will give me another arsenal to manage the substance abuse and addiction.
Yeah, I did like a really deep dive video that I just recorded about it. I'd be interested to see your opinion on it when I put that out. Hopefully this week, if you've got a little bit of time, maybe you could drop me a comment after you see that sometime, or maybe in the future. But
When are you going to put it up?
I'll probably put it out Monday or Tuesday, and I really go into like a lot of the science part of the medications and the half life, and the bioavailability, all that crap. And there's a lot of different doses with the Brixadi too, and it's supposed to be much cheaper than Sublocade. So hopefully more people can get access to it. I was going to ask real quick. I know you don't have a whole lot of time, but do you have any experience doing? I don't know if you knew what I do, but I kind of went from a lower dose of Suboxone to a lower dose of Sublocade. Have you had any experience doing that, or do you kind of go by what the Sublocade recommends people do?
That's a fantastic question. What was your dose when you switched over?
So I went from 4 milligrams of Suboxone to half of the starting dose, which was just literally, he ordered the 300 milligram shot, squirted half of it out, and gave me 150 milligrams. It was like the perfect transition dose.
Yeah, brilliant doctor, whoever your doctor is. Most guys don't mess around with that. Yes, I have. And in fact, we've done it a few times. And in fact, we had one guy come in who was actually on 1 milligram of Suboxone, and he couldn't come off. And we were like, let's think about this. And me and Alexis, who's brilliant. She's the only person I've ever hired as a clinician that works in my practice. And we decided that we were going to get the 100 milligram, squirt some out, put it in him, and attempt to taper him off using Sublocade versus the issue of Suboxone. Mm-hmm. And again, I don't have time to go into it, but we have some ideas of why it's easier to come off of Sublocade. Mm-hmm. And so, A, I've done it. B, I was even willing to go at a lower dose. And that's your doctor is a smart guy.
Yeah, I love that you're doing that too. He refers to it as off-label usage. Is that kind of what you call it as well?
Yeah, it's off-label. Everything I do, a lot of stuff I do is off-label. For example, keeping someone on 300 milligrams, that's off-label, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I do that. Yeah.
Okay. What's the lowest dose you think people have transferred from, as far as what you've gone through, as far as like, let's just say somebody was on 1 or 2 milligrams of Suboxone and they just couldn't finish up their taper. Would you consider using a low dose of Sublocade to kind of help them ease off to it and maybe rewire their brain to get out of that taking something every day mindset?
Yep. So I was about to do it on this 1 milligram guy. And then he had, I think, some family, entanglements and issues up in Northern California, and he didn't come back. But we were really looking forward, and he was on 1 milligram. We're like, let's do it, because he had failed tapering off for about a year.
Okay. And did it end up working then?
No, we didn't do it. He never
didn't do it.
Yeah, okay. He had some family issues, and we were really sad by that. We were hoping to see him back. But I've done it with 8, and it wasn't for tapering issues, but we've done it with 8 milligrams, 10 milligrams. But I've never gone much lower than that. But I would be willing to do anything.
Okay. And then just maybe a couple more short questions for you. Do you got to get going?
Yeah, I have a little visitor, but yeah, I got a minute here.
Okay. What dose of Suboxone do you usually try to get people down to before they jump off?
So I tailor to every patient, and you start off, and what I do is even the taper, I tailor for every patient. And the way I do it, first of all, I have a long discussion. Is it time to come off, right? Mm-hmm. And once, I'll give them my opinion, but I always respect their choice and autonomy. If they want to move forward, we'll move forward. But that's regardless. And then at that point, I start a very slow taper. And once you get to the lower doses, I keep them on that dose longer periods of time so their body adjusts.
Okay.
Now, I could come off of zero point 0.5 milligrams, 0.25 milligrams, 1 milligram. I've done it all.
Okay.
It
So
just, I really watch the patient.
okay. So it's kind of different, but somewhere around quarter of a milligram to up to 1 milligram, somewhere around there.
I think so. Yeah, I think
Okay.
1 milligram is the highest I've ever done, and that was, it's rare.
And do you typically do comfort meds or no?
No.
Okay.
No, and I'll tell you why I don't do comfort meds, because in my practice, and this might be, this is offensive to a lot of people. We are, in fact, a lot of providers, Medi-Cal providers, send their patients to us because everyone thinks their patient's going to overdose being on subs and benzos. Okay, now we do have a bunch of patients on benzos. Okay, and here's the thing: you got to understand. And give me 1 second. Give me exactly 3 minutes, and I'll be right with you. You got to understand that, an addict, alongside of that whole spectrum of issues they suffer from, almost 100% of them have anxiety issues, right?
Yeah.
So the issue is managing it correctly, eventually, changing the meds. But that being said, I'll have a lot of people that get stuck on this idea, I got to get off the subs. Again, the stigma, misunderstanding, the issues. I tell people, listen, let's get you off the benzos first, because that's a much deeper drug in the way that it digs into who you are, long-term, short-term, physiology, pharmacology, psychology. So if you're not, if you're taking, 1 milligram, 2 milligrams of Klonopin, and you're asking me for Xanax, I'm like, no, that's, you remember you had an issue with this 4 years ago, 3 years ago. I brought you down from 4 milligrams of Klonopin down to 1 milligram. So usually I don't. If there's no issues with sedative hypnotics, I may give you a touch of something. Certainly I'll do sleep medication. Certainly we'll try Boost Bar. And rarely I will throw a few Xanax or some sleep medications for that last bit. Very carefully, because you don't want to throw another monkey into the batch that was a problem before or may arise as a potential problem just to get you off the Suboxone, which overall safety profile is better than all those things.
Okay, gotcha. Is it harder to come off of benzos or Suboxone in your opinion?
Again, fantastic question, controversial question. I would say the bigger monster, if there is a benzo issue, is potentially benzos, okay? Because one of the things I'm also getting, people are flying in from different parts of the country. I deal and manage a lot of chronic benzodiazepine withdrawals that have created nightmares in people's lives, dysphoria, akathisia, not leaving the house. I mean, you name it. So, I have found the chronic prescriptions of benzos for the last 30, 40 years, the inappropriate prescribing and inappropriate use, and I'm not blaming the prescribers, it's a collective that we're all guilty of, has created a very, very demonic, at the very least, physiological dependence. In that sense, I find benzos to be sort of a hidden epidemic that's a nightmare to deal with.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. And then maybe last question before I let you go, about what, if you had to put a percentage on it, I know it's probably not that simple, but what percentage of people are you seeing that are able to move on from Suboxone and just to move on from that lifestyle altogether? Like if you had to put a number on it that you're seeing in your office.
So I'm going to restructure your question to look at it differently because I think it should be. So number one, asking me moving on from Suboxone versus moving on from a life that they used to live as an addict. For me, that's two different questions. Mm-hmm. Two, I think the approach, because I look at substance abuse as a chronic issue. And in that way, there's nuance and long-term care, whether you're using or not. So I don't look at addiction. You come in, get off the drugs, get off the Suboxone, see you later, have a great life, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. If you're going to tell me how many of my patients are getting off Suboxone, I would say maybe 10%. And people are like, oh, screw that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, how many are moving away? I mean, I've had guys that came off the street at one point, off the street. Then for 5 years, they didn't leave the house because they had so much issues, anxiety. And here they are like 6, 7, 8 years later. Yeah, they're on their subs. Yeah, they're on low dose Klonopin. But you know what? He's coming in. I don't recognize him. He's leaving the house without having panic attacks going anywhere. And he has a job. Is he going to have to be medicated for probably many, many years? Probably.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is success, because you know what? If I have hypertension, diabetes, whatever it is what it is. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's accepting the reality of the situation, and both as providers and as society being compassionate to that state and creating a system that that person can both live in and thrive in. I hope that helps.
Trying to make the best of what you got, right?
And it can be
Quality of
great.
life.
Yeah, it can be great. If I got
Yeah.
to use a cane, I got to use a cane, right? You know, reach for the stars, keep your feet on the ground, whatever your circumstances is, and find a sliver of hope in there and create quality in your life, and you will.
I love that. Awesome. That's a great point to probably stop on right there, Dr. B. I know you got a bunch of things going on there. Where can I have the people find you if they're seeing this on the replay? Where's the best place to find you?
I guess Dr. B Addiction Recovery. It's on YouTube. And
Okay.
do me a favor, reach out to Nicole, because it's better than reaching out to me.
Okay.
And let's set it up. I'll come on. I'll do a couple of hours with you. We'll shoot the shit, go back and forth. And I love your channel and what you're doing. Everything, every single one of you guys does and sticks at. You have to understand there's a ripple effect in what you do. Because when you reach out to one person, when you create meaning, comfort, understanding, or guidance for one individual, that ripples to their child, to their significant other, to their life. And so many people benefit from what you do. And that's what some of you guys don't realize, how the impact that you have. And I respect you for that. My hat's off.
I really appreciate it, man. It's very, very sweet of you. And I know that you're very passionate about this stuff as well. So it's just like we're all trying to help out however we can. And I see that your audience is definitely growing, and you definitely deserve every subscriber you have. So I appreciate all that you do, and just even hopping on here for this 5 or 10 minutes, it meant a lot to me. And I really appreciate you doing that. And I look forward to doing a more structured video with you in the future as well. We'll get that set up.
My pleasure. Yeah, I was just sitting here and all of a sudden you popped up. I'm like, I got to go on and say hi. I've been meaning to for like 3 years.
Dude, I'm so happy you did. Yes.
And thank you for having me on there. I'm honored. And I got to run. Hey, guys, I can't see your comments, but thank you, everybody. Bye. And thanks, man. So reach out to Nicole and we'll set something up, okay?
Okay. All right, Dr. B, thank you very much. Have a good day, buddy.
Right. Be
See
safe,
ya.
everybody. Bye.
See ya. That was freaking cool, guys. So cool and unexpected. Wow, I'm so happy he decided to hop on here for a minute. That was really, really unexpected. And wow, we've been having some surprise guests on the channel lately, guys, like that, and like Megan, and just like we've been having a lot of surprise, unexpected guests. So it's cool to just shoot off the hip with the questions, and I was just like rapid firing stuff at him. So props to him for just hopping on here just out of the blue. That was very, very cool. If you guys enjoyed that, or if you're enjoying this Sunday night live stream session that we've been doing every week now, if you guys are enjoying these Sunday night live streams, I asked you guys what you wanted me to change on the channel. And that was the number one thing that you guys said, was that you wanted an extra days week, an extra days stream. So here we are, guys. We've been doing the Sunday live streams ever since you guys said that. Okay. So if you guys are enjoying this, please smash that like button. If you enjoyed him coming on here, we've got 34 likes in the video, guys. Still got 20 people up in here hanging out after 2.5 hours. Woo! Woo-wee! Awesome. That was freaking so cool. So now, guys, we've had Dr. B, we've had Dr. Ken Starr, we've had Dr. Chris Park on this channel. Like, that's damn impressive for a channel of this size to have those brilliant doctors on here, and all the other many awesome people that we've had on this channel. like just thinking back real quick, like taking a snapshot of all the people that have been on this channel. It's incredible to be able to have these conversations and